What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you for another week of Every Day We're covering as we move into the summer months here. We're past the Memorial Day weekend. We've got a lot on the docket here to talk about, a little bit of pro sports. We've got some college football, some college basketball in there as well, so there'll be a little bit of everything here for you. SJ, I guess, we're trucking right along here. I guess it was kind of a weird week, with everybody. You usually have the holiday. It kind of messes up the schedule a little bit, but how's everything tracking back at your homestead there?
Well, I mean, other than having to hear, I don't know what day this is of the week 50 times every day, other than that, it's going pretty good. Sports wise, it's a little bit dull, not being like major, huge baseball guys. Of course, don't mind getting out to the park or whatever, or just casually, catching a game here or there, but not being like so into it, having a team. It's a little bit of a lapse here, but other than that, I mean, I like the time of year. You get a little bit of a reset, and of course, as we see on a daily or I was going to say weekly, but daily basis, there's always news to be had in the football world. They're always yapping about something, someone's bitching about something, and we'll get to that later on here in the show. But yeah, plenty of action, and then we still got, of course, the Stanley Cup and NBA Finals about to heat up here in a few days here, so that'll be fun. We'll get some plays out for that as well.
Yeah, I agree. It is a little bit weird, and especially now that we're getting down to the finals where it's not a game every day. We're used to like something every night, being able just to turn on and watch for a while. It gets a little bit boring on that front. But at the same time, you're right. It's nice to have a little bit of as a fan, a reset, like you can focus on some of your other interests and hobbies for a little while and not get so enthralled in it. I guess for me personally, I think that's part of the reason why I never got into baseball all that much. It's because it's oh, here's another thing that's going to take up my entire summer to pay attention to. So football's bad enough sometimes because you lose some of those great fall days because you want to sit and watch games, and really it's the best time of year weather-wise here in the Midwest, honestly. But we love the sport, so that whatever, we're going to live through that. But yeah, it's a little bit of a time, I guess, off to focus on some other stuff.
Well, and especially with baseball and even basketball to an extent with the pro game, it's just there's so many games. It's you can't, even if you wanted to devote the time, you probably can't because unless you're maybe a single person with a 9 to 5 type job, then maybe you can watch a lot of the games. But even baseball, it's they're playing 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon most weekdays in the summer. It's if you have that kind of schedule, then you probably got a pretty nice life there, and I might be a little jealous of that.
Yeah. I will say, yeah,
stay out all day and watch baseball.
yeah. I will say I am impressed by the people that are the diehard baseball guys that know every day what happened. For me, there at least be times where you're oh shit, I forgot they played yesterday, kind of thing. But yeah, there's some of those guys. They're following it every day. They're looking up the stats every night. It's it does take some dedication because that's a long ass season.
Yeah, as long as I get a look at the standings every other day or so, I feel like I'm pretty locked in. That's good enough for me because in the news, with newspapers not being as doing box scores if you get one. Finding one's tricky enough, so yeah, you got to be on it if you're into that. So yeah, good for them, and glad they have that free time because we definitely don't.
Yeah, maybe someday. Who knows? Once I hit the lottery. Let's talk about too what's fueling us here on this fine weekend. Weather has turned around nicely. It is going to be a beautiful weekend here in the Midwest. I know that, and of course you got to have some liquid stuff to power you along. And this is another shout out, I guess. I probably have given a lot to them, but the fine folks in your backyard, I guess I've always appreciated Boulevard and what they do. I don't know, this one just kind of caught me because it was one of those deals like you were talking about last time where you're looking at everything, you're I've tried that. It's so I went back to something, I knew that I liked, and I don't have that often, I guess. It's kind of a come and go thing, but I usually am a big fan of pulling the Boulevard Pale Ale. That's kind of my go-to from them. I pull that a lot, but this one's pretty good too, and it's not that different. It's the single wide IPA. It's got a little bit more kick to it, 5.7%. It's a little bit more on that, bitter hoppy end of things compared to the pale ale, but not much. I think it's a pretty mild IPA when it comes to that world, so that's why I enjoy it. It's kind of nice, bright and crisp and fresh, and so got that one here pouring this weekend. What do you got over there?
Well, I guess I mean I wouldn't really call it mixologist skills, but I did a little bit of mixing here, I guess, as basic as you could get. But I was going a little bit different time than usual, and just got done with some yard work, which is what we spend these free days doing.
Yeah.
So which isn't a bad thing. And we always talk about the post lawn mowing beer. You can't really beat that. And as luck would have it, the kids had a birthday a pool party they went to last night, and they had some pretty killer fresh squeezed lemonade, like handmade, like stuff. I didn't have any lemonade, but they had a little left over, and I was like, oh, we're gonna go shandy. So I
Nice.
did a little lemonade just with the yard beer, the lagers. I just had some Bud Lights in the fridge, nothing fancy, but you want to kick it up a little bit, throw some lemonade. Or I almost went beer mosa, but then I remembered I was like, they got that lemonade. I'm gonna go ahead and give me a shandy going there. So yeah, that's pretty good. So I went ahead and did that just a little bit earlier in the day than usual, and got a little bit of a thirst quencher in there. Get some more electrolytes back
There
to
you
that
go.
lemonade. Yeah,
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
vitamin or citrus. Some little vitamin C maybe.
Yeah, yeah, a little extra in there. And that's kind of I think a lost art too. Really, when you think about it,
Oh
like everybody's obsessed with the stuff that's pre-made. Like
yeah,
yeah, we love going and getting Leinenkugel summer shandy. Well, it's even better if you just find a good beer and pour some lemonade into it.
yeah.
That's what it is. So yeah, that's a lost art form.
Well, I mean, I mentioned the beer mosa thing. You go someplace and ask them, and you look, you think you ask them for like their weight or something or their blood type. Look at you all crazy, like okay, and then like act confused, like hey, just give me a beer that's spiced orange juice. Okay, I can do that. Like, like, it's not even like a complex drink. And then someone asks for these mules or these martini drinks. Like, oh yeah, sure,
Yeah, they
mix
know
it up.
that.
Like, really, two ingredients. Like, help me out here. I just especially these are more the times where it's like you got 11 o'clock game or something earlier in the day, and you want to have a little something, but it's kind of early to get too crazy. So and then brunch is always a popular thing, so that's it's always a good brunch drink if you're not into the maybe like a champagne or a wine type of drink or Bloody Mary. See, I'm not a Bloody Mary fan. I've tried it. I can't get with it. But if you don't like that, I recommend the beer mosa or the shandy is a good way to get going if you're trying to have maybe a extended day drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of traveling here soon, so who knows what'll get crazy at the airport
Airport doesn't
lounge.
matter what time it is. Yeah, any time of day is happy hour. So as long as you got your 1450 for a 8 ounce beer, you'll be all right.
Yeah, well, it's always so weird because you get screwed up when you're traveling because you may have been up for what would be your normal day already if you're having an early
Lunchtime, but it's
flight.
only like 10 in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of throws things off guard, and that's why, of course, they do it, and then it's
Well,
why
if
they
you're
offer it.
changing time zones on top of things too, then it's really a thing. Like we try to if you're going to the West Coast, try to get there, leave as early as possible. But basically, it feels like you left at the time. You like, let's say you leave at 7 in the morning and you get there like at 7:45 local time
Mm-hmm.
because it's a 2 hour flight or something,
Yeah.
and then you're just like,
Yeah.
you kind of messed up because you feel like it's lunchtime, but it's damn not even breakfast there.
Yeah, yeah, yep. It definitely throws you off kilter a little bit. Well, let's get into what's going on here first. We'll start with the NBA and the NHL, just because that's obviously the thing that is happening here right now still in the sports world. The NBA playoffs, of course, we know one of the teams that will be in the finals, and to no surprise, we already kind of talked about this team being the favorite to probably win it all. But Oklahoma City Thunder win the series over the Timberwolves 4-1. Really dominated that last game. 124-94 was the final in that one. SJ, I turned it on to watch just a little bit of it. It was already started, so it was already out of hand. And I watched, I think, for about 10 minutes, and I'm like, this is just a waste of time. Like, and I don't know. I mean, maybe sometimes I get it, you get wore out or you just have a bad day, but like, it legitimately looked like Minnesota just didn't give a shit anymore. Like, they were just done. Like, they knew it was over. They knew they weren't going to come back and win the series. Like, I watched a couple possessions where Edwards came down and he pulled up for like a 35-foot three, and it's like, what are we doing here? It just didn't make any sense the way that they were playing. Obviously, Oklahoma City, is a good team, so they can do that to you. But I thought it was a little bit odd, I guess, from the effort standpoint on that end.
Yeah, one thing it's hard to understand is it's like you obviously your season's on the line. You win or that's it. There is no tomorrow, to quote a line from Rocky. One of the great sports classics of all time. But it doesn't make any sense. Like how can you? I mean, you lose, you lose. It is what it is. But
Yeah.
to not like have your and maybe you don't have your A game, but to give your A effort,
Mm-hmm.
that has to be like non-negotiable. And I just can't imagine like. I mean, you had a good season, and you look at hindsight and all that stuff. But being a fan of that team and that franchise, and you think you have some type of a potential star player, and that's the kind of what you get from them. And basically for you, a game seven obviously was game six, but that was your game seven. You had to win that to extend the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and I kind of. I mean, just normal conversation, but went back and forth with someone before the game, just saying like, there's no way this one's over, and he's like, I think just, and I was like, well, what are you seeing in this guy that I'm not seeing? I kind of tried to have an open mind about it, but and I was just like, that was exactly what I thought. We had a good chance of happening, not to that extent of being like so miserable and being over. Basically after a quarter of play, it was pretty much decided.
Yeah.
Like just maybe not on the score, but just like how watching the game and how it's playing out, you're like, there's no way this isn't happening for tonight. And then just, I mean, I guess I don't see what everybody else sees in him. I just kind of see like maybe a bit of a front runner, a little bit of, and everybody complains a lot, so I can't say he complains too much because that's just become the nature of the game. We discussed last time. It's just, if you're not complaining, you're not trying is the new thing. And used to be, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And now if you're not complaining, you're not trying. But either way, just I don't that for me, I'd be like, man, I'd be kind of, you'd have to show me a lot over the at least next season, and then in the next couple years to kind of erase that from my mind, because that's it's one thing when you do it at like a LeBron, a 40-year-old, and you kind of just fall apart. But dude, he hasn't even hit his prime yet. He's just on the come up, and they just kind of throw it in, pack it in, and then after the game he says, "Oh, no one's gonna outwork me." I was like, nah. I mean, I think that's a stupid thing to say because you can't really quantify it. But I don't know if I believe that, even if you could.
Yeah. Well, and it's pretty obvious for that team too that there's like a piece or two that's missing. Like they need something else to be able to get over the hump. There's another wrinkle to that I guess I'll touch on after we talk about the other series as well. But yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing to see it in that way. I guess at least without it being somewhat competitive. But to no surprise, I think, to us and who it was with the outcome at the end, for sure.
I mean, the better team won for sure. It's just like you would have thought you could have put, be a little competitive, if maybe, hanging for a quarter or two. I don't think that's a lot to ask.
Yeah, no kidding. So that was obviously Oklahoma City getting themselves into the driver's seat there in the finals, and now they get some time off to rest up and wait for the next one. And that may, who knows, that may be a little while here because the New York Knicks were able to come back, play very well in the last game of their series in Game 5 there against the Pacers, and it's now a 3-2 Pacers series lead after a 111-94 win for the Knicks. Pacers, gave a little bit of pushback there at the end of the game, but not, it was well decided, in that fourth quarter pretty much. That the Knicks were going to win. Now, I'm not surprised. Going back to New York, you knew that they were going to give, a good effort, and with that crowd and atmosphere, it was probably going to push them, over the hump a little bit. And the Pacers that's just kind of the way that they've been too. It's like, they have a couple great games and then they have a down one, and they just had a little bit of a down one. Now, whether or not that can carry over for the Knicks to the next game, I still have my doubts, but it definitely makes it an interesting finish here to this series, I think.
Well, that's the kind of effort you expect. I know it's a different, they were at home, so it helps a little bit, but you still had, I mean, the pressure was all on the Knicks, and now it does, I think it does shift a little to the Pacers, a little bit. Of course, you still got 2 games to mess with, but you definitely don't want to go back to New York if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Not only is that, now you have to win or your season's done, and then on top of that, like you mentioned, Oklahoma City has sitting kind of waiting, and they're going to be at home for game 1 too, so they're not going to, kind of, maybe get a little break here, get some rest up, because everyone's got, some injuries, even if they're not, reported, they're playing through it, so you give you a little bit of time to recover, and just like I said, the atmosphere. But I mean, the thing with the Knicks, I mean, I will give them credit, even outside of a game or 2 here or there, getting down by 20 for them is kind of just like, okay, now let's start playing.
Mm-hmm.
As they've done that several times, just and should have won, and they've even blown big leads too on the other side. So if this game gets up or down one way or the other, in Game 6, I don't necessarily think that it'd be like stick a fork in it like it was with with Minnesota.
Yeah.
These teams both have shown they're willing to come back and kind of, and then in the post game we kind of talked about Edwards' comments, and I don't know if you caught Siakam's press conference there,
Yeah.
where the guy that's always mouthing off there. It seems like everybody hates him, but he's been a columnist there for how long? So I guess they're selling papers on kind of like the Whitlock, the Whitlock theory there of just being an a-hole and people hating you, and then Doyle's kind of signed up for that. So, but that was weird. That made that Caitlin Clark deal look like normal compared to that situation, because I was like, he wasn't asking the question. He's like, how does it happen? What do you mean? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, dude, ask a question. Like, how does what happen? How does the sun come up? How do I put my pants on? Like, ask a question. Like, he was just like very vague, and I guess he thought he was like clever. Like, I don't know what he was doing, but I thought it was actually good for Siakam. And I mean, not that it's hard. He came out looking better to me, because he's just like, who is this guy? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, hey, that's kind of the way you should handle it, because it's not like he wasn't trying to answer a question. You just didn't really ask one. But his mindset was right. He's like, they just played better than us. It's not like they didn't try. And I don't think that game either. To me, I didn't think like they didn't have any effort. Like, Knicks just freaking made some big plays, and they pretty much maxed out. Like, they couldn't have done much more. Like the Knicks. Like, I mean, I honestly don't think that Indiana played bad. The Knicks just they knew they had to win, and they did it. I mean, if anything, blame McAfee for trying to get on the mic or do whatever the hell he was doing the game before.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. I felt the same way after I saw that too. It's like, he's doing what he's supposed to as far as being there, being available, answering the questions. Like, and he was honest. Like, some guys would just say, they'd make excuses. He was just like,
next question. No, next question.
Yeah. He was just like, they played harder than us. Like, they wanted it more. And sometimes that happens. Like, and there's no, you can't quantify it into like a certain degree too. Like, we wanted to play and wanted to win too. But like, sometimes, especially if anybody that's ever played anything, you know how it feels. Like, there's moments in competitions where you just like, shit,
can't do anything.
Things are out of our control right now. Like, ball ain't bouncing our way. I don't know what's going on, but
Brunson hits 4 threes in the first like 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah,
I mean, or at least 3 or 4. It's like, what? I mean, it's not like they weren't guarding him. They're right in his face. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, some days the guy's better than you. Like, it is the NBA. It's like the best basketball players on the planet.
Yeah, and that's part of the game of basketball too. Like, it just, I think that's some of the nature. Like, sometimes like dudes are just making stuff. You always say, it's always the, good defense, better offense. Like, that happens a lot. Like, it just does. It's a lot, not like other sports. It's easy to get attempts up, and if you're on one, you're on one, and that was what was going on, I think there. And I did appreciate the way that he handled that too, and just kind of saying, it is what it is, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you mean?
Whatever kind of dirt he's got on the Indy Star, I need some of that, because to have a job still being as kind of I guess being as abrasive as he is, it kind of blows your mind. Especially, I mean, it's not a huge market, but decent sized, and you're probably making some decent money on top of that to act like that. It's just I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting, to see how this plays out. I guess personally, I still have a sneaking suspicion that this next game is going to be another one of those good, well put together ones for the Pacers, and they might close this thing out. But it's been a good series, and I think we all thought that it would be. And of course, now that's drawn some of the ire, I guess, of a lot of the major market fans, so to speak, where everybody's complaining about, this is going to be the worst finals ever between OKC and Indiana. Like, the best teams make it there for a reason, and a lot of people too, like, have said I've seen some good arguments where it's like, you're gonna be bored because these teams were put together the right way and they play together as teams. Like,
when you got the league MVPs in there, so I mean,
what do you need?
Usually he's usually, if not he's in the finals, he's in the conference finals every year, and I mean. That's obviously just you're not happy with who's there no matter what, if it's not your team. So I guess that's the issue. But I mean, if you don't want to watch the games, don't watch it. But I think you can find any of the matchups of the 4 teams that left. I think you can find a some type of entertainment value there. I don't think it's the I guess the concern would be if Oklahoma City keeps it rolling, the defense maybe, and I don't know, this is a very big maybe the Knicks have a little more across the board defensively, but I think Indiana is a little more explosive offensively. So I mean, it's like that's going to be tough either way. But I mean, the number one seed, you seed them because they're the best, but that's how you get the number. So there should be 1 versus 1 every year if the records indicate who the best team is.
Yeah. So it's I get it if what you're saying there too. Like if it's the matchup that's going to suck, like that makes sense. But
you don't know yet. Even on just looking at the teams, that's just a guess watching them. Like it might be the opposite. Like who knows? Like there's no. I mean, I get the small market and that type of thing. I just never get into that because that doesn't really affect the games at all. It's either you're there and you earned your way there, and that's just the way it is. I mean,
they all have the same number of players, and they all come from the same. They all get there the same way. They were drafted or whatever. Like this isn't. And I always hate that too. Like outside of 5 cities, we're going to complain that everybody's a small market team just because there's not.
And then the big cities win. They said, "Oh, they have all the money. That's why they win." So, which way do you want? If anything, it's a good thing. How many, leagues would love to have the quote smaller market teams. Which, I mean, small market. What does that even mean in pro sports?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, to me, those are 2 pretty big ass cities. Like, I don't live in one. So
if you have any pro sports franchise, you're a pretty good sized city there and a decently robust economy. So I don't think there's really a small. I mean, maybe you could have said like Oakland, but they're moving out of there too. So at a place like that, we're just like maybe just don't have the type of funds or whatever because it's in a neighboring city. But either way, it's just like. I guess it's just maybe not the, everybody gets mad about the dynasties, but then when they don't happen, it's like you want them to happen again. So I don't know.
Yeah, usually the ones that get the ones that do rightfully get criticized are when it's an ownership group that is obviously like cheap, and we know that, we can see that by how they act and how they go get players. That's fine. I get that.
Well, that's not. But that's not even market wise because you look at some of these franchises that are raking in the dough, and I know it's more of a local thing because I live here, but I mean. Then they're willing to build a stadium and they're winning championships, on the regular these days. So it's just like, I mean, what do you want? What do you expect?
Yeah. Yep. It's it's all kind of subjective, but those narratives do get really tiring. The other thing on that front too, I keep seeing this and I guess it's kind of annoyed the shit on me a little bit because I'd rather be watching the teams that are playing and, celebrating how they're doing. But, of course the constant talk is like, is Kevin Durant going to play for the Timberwolves or the Thunder this next year? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, do they need it right now? Like, is that going to help them? Maybe on the T-Wolves front, I guess I could see it more than the Thunder. The Thunder absolutely do not need him on their team. I mean, and maybe that'd be a bad thing.
He had his chance there. I mean, he left. I'd say, so, especially if they win it all, I'd say no thanks. Minnesota, I guess maybe you could see but then again, it's like the problem I think that they have is everybody that can score for them needs the ball in their hands, and you can't run an offense with 4 dribble heavy type of scorers. So Durant's just exactly that as well. So that wouldn't help anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if they think they can, with the talent wise, it makes. I mean, you'd have enough to win it, but as far as when you get down to the X's and O's and how it's going to play out on the court, I don't think that would work. Another guy that needs the ball in his hands when they're already having issues with that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Obviously, that's an off-season thing, but hopefully we get a good finish here to the rest of these games and have some fun with it. All right, moving on to the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we do have the finals set there as a couple of teams have ran away really with the conference finals and got themselves into that position. The Florida Panthers back there for the 3rd straight season in the Stanley Cup Finals as they beat the Carolina Hurricanes on Wednesday night 5-3 to win that series 4-1. And then the next night, the Edmonton Oilers punched their ticket as well to get a rematch from last year. 6-3, they were winners over the Stars, win that series 4-1. Impressive performances, certainly by both those two teams. I thought those series, both of them, would be a little bit more competitive. Probably, I think, with each team on the opposite end, maybe winning one more game at least. But was very impressive, especially for Florida. You know, they just jumped out, and it looked like there was just no chance that the Hurricanes were going to be involved. Canes won a game, and then the next game it looked like, oh, well, maybe they're going to get back in the series because they're up 2-0 right away to start. I flipped away to watch basketball for a little bit, came back, and it was like, oh, it's tied at 2, and then they end up losing. So it's like, wow, it's an impressive run. And it does set up the finals, I think, that a lot of people did want to see again here with Florida and Edmonton. You've got, you know, the stars that are there for Edmonton. It went to a Game 7 last year, and Florida won their first cup with that victory. So it should be a good battle, and obviously a lot of people, I think, are going to be pulling for Connor McDavid to be able to hoist that thing for his first time. So this should be an interesting series. Certainly two teams that have proven that they are the two best.
I mean, the thing take away from me so far in the playoffs, just the consistently high output on offense I brought about with Florida last time we talked. It just it's anything like if I can get 3.5 or 4 goal game type of thing, I'm gonna get all over that. And then even just looking now is the line I see right now is for total in the game is 6.5 between these two teams. I kind of like that. I could see easily see a 4-3 game, 5-2, something like that, even a 5-3. So I'm gonna keep looking at those totals until I get maybe some goal scorer specific here later as the series gets going. But early on, I'm still going to be sticking with those because it's kind of nice to see, actually, as someone who's not like a hardcore hockey fan. Just that does gets me to want to watch a little bit more offense. It just, I don't know, and I understand it's probably the traditionalist, like the 2-1, the 1-0 type thing, which I don't think it's necessarily bad hockey, but I prefer a few more goals. Just keep it a little lively, and really gets kind of even more so the crowd into it and gets a little wild in those arenas.
Yeah, well, and sometimes too, a lot of times I think when it comes to the playoffs, like a team that gets hot is because a goalie gets on a roll and he just seems unstoppable, standing on his head all the time. And I don't think that that's going to be the case here in this series. There's just so much offensive firepower on both sides here for these two teams. I mean, you look at the goal scoring for both these squads in their last few games. So Edmonton had 6, and then it was 4 before that, and they scored 6 the game before that, and 3 the game before that, and they had another one, I think, that was at a 5 mark in the series.
3 being the minimum is pretty wacky considering just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
And with the goalie play, it's not necessarily saying it's going to be bad goalie play. It's just the firepower, the offensive attack, how they can find the back of the net. It's just a matter of that level of skill. And honestly, I mean, it's a bigger picture discussion, but if you're going to try to, that's a sport that probably needs to build. They're not the only ones. Everyone says ratings are down always, no matter what. I don't know. They never have numbers, but they just say ratings are down for everything. But I mean, I think a lot of that's just streaming. They're not metered the way, someone sitting in front of their old Magnavox is. It's a little bit different these days. So I think that's more of anything, but I think it probably does it in this, if you're not where a hockey team plays on the regular, that probably does need a little bit of at least getting a bigger audience and in the playoff time. That's going to do it, I think, just across the board, no matter what. Like, American audiences want offense, no matter what the sport is.
I agree. Yeah, that certainly should play well, and I have heard that too. It's weird how you hear, the story always seems to be different from the different levels. Like a lot of times you hear from like like the middle level, like the middle of youth sports kind of thing, like, oh, there's more participation than there's ever been, and then you get the narrative when it gets to the pro level too. It's like, oh well, interest is a little bit down, like, yeah, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me either. And hockey has definitely been one of those sports where it's like, and I get it, they've always been, there's a little bit of a gap there as far as what's traditional and what's, it's a different type of sport. And obviously it has its base, in Canada and in Russia and in Finland, those, Nordic countries love it. And obviously it's because of the nature of weather. Like, that's number one. But I think it certainly has grown, and like we talked about before, those teams that are playing in Florida of all places are drawing eyeballs and drawing attention, and that's only going to help expand the interest in the sport. And even though it is like traditionally you would think like, oh, a rematch in the finals isn't exactly what a league probably wants, but in this case I think that's opposite. Like you said, it's because they both can put up offense, they both have really skilled players. It's going to generate interest, and I think especially when you have some of the stars that are leading the way on in each side, that also is going to help. So this should be a great finals for the NHL, and I agree. I think you're going to continue to see interest spike a little bit more and more. I think you're the other sports because that's just the nature of it, but it's still going to have its place. I think is what I guess I'm getting at here a little bit.
Yeah, it's always going to be a little bit niche of a sport, but the thing with the way, I remember Florida not long ago. It was like the big talk was how where their arena was compared to like where they're actually like like supposed to be, their home base or whatever, and that doesn't even get brought up because of how the success they've had. And just there's a lot of other things to talk about. So I guess that's what kind of shows the popularity of it. Like no one cares that it's out in the middle of the swamp anymore. That it's like, hey, they're a good team. Let's go watch them.
Yep. Winning cures all, right? That's how we always see this stuff play out. So yeah, look forward to that. And again, yeah, certainly if you're looking on the wagering side, those totals certainly would appear to be overs are a pretty good bet in this series. And especially, yeah, if you can pick a couple of guys out that have been on pretty good roll. You're obviously looking at Draisaitl, McDavid on the Edmonton side. Marchand's really been in the mix a lot in Florida. There's plenty of guys to look at as far as some of those props are concerned too. So it should be a lot of fun to watch those games.
Well, and even just a series prop, you might want to go, 5 or 6 games at least.
Yeah.
Maybe you can see it going. Even like you feel pretty confident, go a 7-game series, and sometimes before the series has started, you can get a pretty good value on that if you want to pick the number of games the series is going to go, and you don't have to worry about who wins. You just number of games, and then you can do some other props along the way.
All right, next thing we're going to roll into here was talking a little bit of college football. Of course, always a topic that we're paying attention to, and like you said, always seems to be some sort of news out there on that front. It's interesting because the other thing that we're going to touch on at the end of the show here, I feel kind of the same way about, but it's like we continue to try to do as many things as possible to ruin the good things, but this one's kind of funny actually. I think a little bit, even though both of these two fan bases I could toss in the bin and not worry about anymore. But Texas and Ohio State having a little bit of a pissing match as far as the time that they wanted to play their first game of the season. It was posted that Texas blocked Ohio State's attempt to move that week 1 game that they'll have from noon on Saturday to primetime on Sunday. And one of the reasonings was Texas athletic director Chris Del Conte said, "I've got to go to church."
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he's got his own seat there and never misses. I mean, whatever, do what you got to do. Everyone's got their choices with what that goes in personal life, but to kind of float that out there and give that as a reason, I'm sure he's trying to be funny and make a little bit in jest. But bro, like I don't know, like. Kind of the goings on of NCAA athletics and church don't really go in the same sentence.
Not really things that get along real well. The thing that I think is I think this absolutely has to have something to do with it though. So recently, obviously, the Ohio State legislature was trying to float this ridiculous idea that they won't play at earlier than whatever time. That the Texas is paying attention to that.
Oh yeah.
They're like, fuck you, we're gonna play at 11 o'clock still.
Definitely. That was probably that's the bad part about when you kind of sometimes it's better just to be quiet and not put everything out on the table there. Even with like this isn't I guess directly related, but kind of is. I'm sure this is where it came out. But with those what do they call them, like spring meetings or something, and SEC thinks they have to have like press availability and just because they're making their stance for the playoffs. It's it's almost like they're just kind of filibustering here back and forth to each other and hoping that whatever they say is like gets whoever's in charge in these playoff committees on their side, because that's what they want. So I don't know. It's got to keep up with what's going on, because it's going to affect the game eventually. But man, it's getting pretty tiresome freaking listening to all these people just yap all the time.
Yeah, about the dumbest things, like this is ridiculous. Why do we care about this? But yeah, when I saw that was the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, this is absolutely like a FU finger from Texas to Ohio State. Obviously, the leagues don't like each other. I'm sure those teams don't like each other, and Texas doesn't like anybody because they think they're better than everybody. But it's just interesting. Obviously, you probably could have found somewhere to attend church on a Sunday morning in Ohio.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, most teams travel with their, whatever. No matters what denomination you are, a chaplain of some sort, or a couple 3 options, or I'm sure around the corner there's a couple establishments here or there where you can go, or do whatever you got to do to pray to the Bevo gods there. But I mean, then you brought up a good point too. Is like, scheduling, I mean, it's all about TV, and that makes sense. But you would think, like, weather-wise, you'd want to, maybe stay in some certain, windows of time, depending on what type of time of the year it is.
Yeah. It's very interesting how this stuff plays out, and that was something that caught my eye earlier this week. For the team I follow, Iowa State. They had they put out a little PR thing, like I don't remember what it was, Tuesday or Wednesday, with the first 3 home game times already set. Now, 2 things that caught me there were like, how the hell did they figure this out already? Usually we're sitting around waiting, the week before to find out when the damn game is, and everybody gets pissed about that, and I get that. But then the other is like, why did we decide these times? Like, obviously TV, we know, dictates whatever it is. Like, the schools pretty much have zero say on this, especially if you're not one of the biggest of the big, to be able to tell them otherwise. And usually even that isn't going to get you anywhere. Like,
well, I mean, when depending on the comments, getting, whatever, 50 million a year, you got to just say, okay, we'll play where you tell us. And I mean, it makes sense though to have someone like the big games. Like, I mean, I think I saw that, the Iowa State's at the big noon kickoff, right? One of those weeks. Yeah. And so, like, that makes sense, because it's like, I mean, that's a marquee game. It's nationally televised. But yeah, I usually had to wait, and it's nice to know ahead of time, but it still doesn't always make sense, especially when certain things get picked. But I know there's also that deal of, like, it's almost like a draft thing where the networks kind of, they get to pick so many games, and the next one gets the next pick and all that stuff. So, I mean, while you think some teams probably like, man, we should be playing there, we got screwed. It's like, it's not always a matter if they didn't want to put it there. It's like somebody picked another game before they could get to that spot or whatever. So it's kind of a jumbled mess when it comes to that as well.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you're right. Like, especially when it comes to the funny thing, and I saw somebody comment this, and I've thought it before myself, and it's like, yeah, this is totally makes sense. But like, especially Midwestern teams, you're playing the upper Midwest, it would totally make sense that the first 3 weeks of the season we play night games, because it's like still 90 degrees and
it's still summer, even though it's fall. It's summer until about mid-September in a good year,
I mean, I've got some pictures of some impressive sunburns from being at a college football game.
I mean, not to make light of it, but it's like, how many freaking blue hairs do you see getting carted out there in the first couple of weeks with the Red Cross volunteers are trying to carry them out, and then getting freaking dehydration, and then they're letting you bring in a bottle of water of your own, which they don't want to do that because they want you to buy their $7 bottle of water. So the fact that they're letting you bring water in kind of shows you how freaking hot it is. But let's go ahead and play at that time of day, and just you would think you'd say we're gonna go in the early season, play later in the day, and then later in the year play early when you still have sunshine, and it's not if it's cold, at least you got some sunshine to warm it up a little bit.
It seems like, and especially if your team has success, you get those night primetime picks, and that's when you're going to play. Yeah, and it would be nice to play when it's like, 10 degrees above instead of 12 below by the time the damn thing kicks off at night in the winter. Like, I don't think people understand, like, our weather is pretty radical. Like, it goes from one end to the other. This is ridiculous. Like, I don't think you understand the humidity is at 100% and it's 89 degrees. It feels like it's 100 and something here in the Midwest. So, like, it's just not a good scenario. And of course, yeah, you mentioned, like the, older folks maybe not being able to handle it. Of course, Billy Bob having 12, beers before the game too. That ain't good either.
Definitely puking on the seat next, or hopefully the seat next to you, not your seat, but
yeah.
Well, and then you factor in that. I mean, a lot of college more than the NFL is not a big of an issue, but most schools have turf, just cost reasons, mostly upkeep. So that makes it that much hotter too. Yeah. I know that was always, it's kind of faded off over time, especially when they've gotten more to like I guess it's like a blend, like a turf composite, not necessarily like the Astro turf, because that was always the thing. They'd have the big, look at a clock thermometer, and the guy that's, Lynn Swan on the sideline saying, "Oh, Brent, it's 117 down here on the field," or Jack Root down there sweating his ass off.
Yeah,
I mean, but it was hot though. I mean, I remember some of those games, especially that. I mean, literally that turf they used to play on was like the damn carpet you put on your front steps, like that. Old, how did they? I don't know how they ever played on that, and just everybody's knees didn't die. Like I know a lot of people's did, but that was, I don't even know how that worked.
Yeah, I mean that had to been like CTE to the max with that stuff. It's just crazy what they were playing on. And it logically, it doesn't make sense, and it never has, probably never will. Like we said, it's dictated by people that don't care about that. They just want as many eyeballs that are going to turn on the television at that time. So that's the way it goes. But it is interesting, and it's funny to see that. I will say, I am surprised though. I don't know. I don't know if there's a shift though in the media world. Like if it's just because there's so many players now, or because these contracts have been decided for so long. If like we're getting to a point where this stuff is decided a little bit further out, it's just interesting to me that a lot of those times are already available. And like I said, I'm not complaining. I like it, especially for people, that need to plan their weekend. Like, what the hell am I going to do? Makes sense, and will help us out. But then, it's just interesting what the times that actually are picked. Like, I get it, like that Iowa State one, makes sense, like you said, for the nation to be able to watch a noon game that has some interest early in the season. But for fans going, like, oh shit, now I get zero time to tailgate for the one of our fun games of the year. Like, okay, that kind of sucks, but is what it is. So interesting. That world will continue to evolve, obviously, and like I said, because of so many people involved, there's so many different broadcasters that are part of this now with the streaming competitors that are in the market. So it's just going to continue to morph and change. But definitely was an interesting story, especially with that Texas-Ohio State thing, bringing it up. Another thing we wanted to touch on here as well, here, speaking of trying to ruin things, we've talked about this, and we kind of knew that this was going to come at some point, and it apparently is more of a focus than maybe we even realized. But NCAA President Charlie Baker has said that one of his top priorities is expanding March Madness, and his quote was, "That would be the goal, to try to do this for next year." Yeah. We're not talking about 4 or 5 years down the road. We're talking about like now. And they've been discussing possibly 72 to 76 teams getting into the NCAA tournament. I've got so many places to go with this, but on its face, just this is ridiculous.
Well, that was the surprising thing to me when I first saw it. I was like, right away, you would think you kind of, maybe down the road, whatever we knew was going to happen eventually, just because there's so much revenue to be had with the TV and how many. But I mean, I guess if you're going to do that, don't like it. It's kind of, I don't know, 64 was like enough to me when I even went to 68. But like, just play it out. Then don't do that first 4, first 8, first whatever crap. Just have a big bracket and just play it. Whatever Tuesday through the. I mean, if you're going to do that, I'd feel better off just space it out every day and give you like 5 to 6 games for 2 weeks straight.
For sure, yeah.
If you're going to do that, go ahead and make people available, because it's. I mean, squeezing those games in now is tricky, even with a multi-view type of setup and all that. So let's at least space it out. And the reason you're doing it is to get more games on TV and make more money. So then make it available to watch, and let's expand it and just go from Tuesday to Tuesday, games every day. 4 to 5 games every day, and we might as well, if we're gonna, let more people in, at least let us enjoy more basketball.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I just don't like it though. Don't get me wrong. I think it's just too much.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, and that would be the thing that would absolutely just be the cherry on top of ridiculousness would be if they decide to do this, and then they decide to have like 3 games in the same window.
Yeah.
And we're streaming them on whatever plus, like ridiculous. Come on, like what's the point then? Like you're not you're going to get the same amount of viewership because it's just going to spread people across what they want to see. So it changes nothing. Like, yeah, you would absolutely have to put it on different days if you want more revenue, you want more airtime, you want more ads. That's the way it's going to happen. It's not going to be to put them all on the same day anymore.
Well, even now, I mean, to watch every game, you almost have. You hope you got the schedule that allows it. You're off, or you take vacation time because not a lot of people do that, or you're heading, go out to Vegas or go to the games and watch. But I mean, if you're still working like typical business hours, you can't watch them right now anyway. So I mean, I would say start a little bit later, but maybe less games per day. But I know that also makes it tricky with the sites. You're going to add more sites because it's already pretty expanded the way it is, and they're kind of getting 3 to 4 games in on one day, like at one arena, is tricky enough. So you're definitely going to have to probably have more sites on top of that.
Yeah. Well, and logistically, I mean, like how usually these things are decided like 3 years ahead of time where these things are going to be played. Yeah. How the hell are you going to, suddenly, hey, you're going to host some games next year.
Like, get ready, Providence. We're coming to you, Boise. Like, and then you want to talk about small markets. You're going to have, there's only so many arenas, and even in the big cities that aren't being used because it's during, obviously NBA's going on at the same time. You got concerts, you got, whatever, like, WWE, you got UFC, boxing, you got, freaking whatever uses arenas, Dude Perfect, all this rodeo, all this stuff. So it's not like there's just an endless amount of arenas around the country. I mean, there's not been a lot of details, but are they going to try to do like home sites? Because I can't imagine that would go over well.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's a very good point. And we've already seen that that happens in the professional world sometimes. Like there was that deal recently where the Nuggets, I think, one of their home games ended up being the same night they had a Katy Perry concert scheduled or whatever, and had to like figure that out. So yeah, I mean, this shit like that happens all the time. So this ain't easy. Yeah, that would be a huge wrinkle in the system. The other thing is like, did they ask the S&P 500? Like, we all know productivity is shit for 2 days. Are we going to add a couple more? Like, the U.S. economy might tank here.
Yeah, even if I said, have the time off, even if you're working, are you really working, or do you got, your phone lit up, or what if you got a tablet or just maybe you have a job that don't care and you just throw it up on your computer screen and just watching games. So, yeah, that's not it's already kind of a, what do you want to call it? Like a pseudo holiday where people kind of just take advantage of the days, which I mean, I try to watch as much as I can too. So, but yeah, it's go to more of that. That'd definitely be the case. And Buffalo Wild Wings is going to be happy. I guarantee that they'll have some, free carrots and celery or something with your wings.
More buzzer beaters. Yeah. Well, so from the other side of this too, obviously, is from the competitive standpoint, and I think what sucks about this, if they're going to do it, which it pretty much seems like it's going to happen. Yeah. Logically, I guess from a true competitive standpoint, it would be to me, like as a fan, I'd be thinking, okay, it's going to allow some of those teams that are in those lower tier conferences that only get in because they win their goddamn conference tournament, even though they may have lost one game all season long and then they lose in their conference tourney. It allows those teams to get in. I don't think that's not going to be what happens. It's going to be all the major Power 5 conference schools, down to like, 11th in the fucking league is going to get in. And what is the point of that? Like, now to me, it just makes the regular season that much more worthless. Like, did you prove anything during the year? Did you have to win anything to get into this? Because I get it, your team might be good, and it might be even better than that lower tier team that only lost one game. I get that, but you had your opportunity. Like, you had the chance to play better teams and beat them to earn your way into the tournament. Now, yeah, we get 3 or 4 every year. We're like, they kind of got screwed. Whatever. That's going to happen no matter what number you set it at. But to me, for those bigger leagues, it's just going to be a joke. Like, okay, everybody's in.
Yeah, this probably more helps. Like, whatever. I mean, don't want to pile on one team, but like the Vanderbilts or the Wake Forests or the fringe teams, maybe like a Colorado in the Big 12 or Washington State, someone like that. That's not gonna. I know they don't have a conference right now, but that's who's gonna get in with these expanded things. And at this point, honestly, I'd be more. I mean, I know it makes it a little tricky because then if you don't win it, you're not in. But it's almost like just start the damn tournament when the conference tournaments start and say this is the big. Everyone's in this.
Yeah.
But then again, the Big Ten doesn't let everybody in, so. Those teams might have benefited from that, be like not getting in the conference tournament, but you're still going to get in the NCAA.
Yeah.
If you lost in the conference, you might have lost your way out of the
Exactly.
NCAA tournament of the 68 team field. So that's it. I don't know. Who knows how they're going to work it out, but it doesn't seem like it's already kind of a mess. I don't know. I guess mess may be a little bit strong, but it's not ideal the way it is now. It's just probably going to get worse with adding more teams the way they're going with this, but. It's pretty much a done deal if they're talking about it like the way. I mean, he pretty much said without saying that's pretty confident comment there. Without having any details to go along with it.
Yeah, and the other thing that kills me a little bit about all of this is like what. Yeah, it devalues those conference tournaments again, like even further, like just like we've done in football. That's going to also do that.
At this point, I say just get rid of them because it really doesn't matter now, unless it's like the whatever the Ivy League, the MEAC, the SWAC, because they're probably still going to have to win to get in.
Yeah, which I guess for me as a basketball fan sucks because like. Sometimes some of those games are more exciting than the damn tournament, like
when you get so much action in like a short amount of time, it's like the tension, like especially if you're able to go to one of the events, it's kind of like you can't really replace that championship event feel.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing, because I mean for the conferences, I'm sure like revenue wise, like they'd hate that. That would be dumb. Like you get a lot of people in one place, but especially for the Big 12, there maybe more so than anybody else there in KC that's always so well attended. But you look at the tournament this last year, and we all kind of complained a little bit because we didn't get the buzzer beater games. We didn't have quite as much of the thrilling stuff. Like how much worse is it going to? Yeah, how much worse is it going to get now when you've got the 1 seed that's now going to be playing the 30 seed or whatever the fuck we're doing here? Like it's not going to get better.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's already complaints, and adding more isn't going to help because you're even better going the other way and maybe cutting it down a little bit, which you knew that wouldn't happen. But that would almost be the way to go if you're going to mess with it, just because then you kind of increase. It's on now. We don't have the first round to kind of mess around. We got to go. It's only 48 teams or whatever. Yeah. Or even if it was, 32 seems a little small with how many teams there are in the game these days.
Yeah,
but,
I get that.
Yeah. Definitely. I think like I wouldn't mind if it was reduced a little bit, but if anything, we'll probably be at 96 before we know it.
In the grand scheme of things, you do think about like there are 300, I think, some D1 basketball teams. Like 70 doesn't seem that ridiculous, but I guess from the way we're running, we are used to it and understand how it works. Like it's like okay, a third of everybody gets in. It just seems kind of wild, but
and just the actual of playing it out is where it's tricky. On paper it seems like that's not even half, but to actually host an event where people are playing, the logistics of that are just like insane with 68. Let alone we're going to add on top of that, and then if once you start adding a couple years down the road, just like you saw with the playoff, once it gets going one way, it doesn't go the other way.
Well, and and the other thing I think too is like this is a single elimination tournament.
Yeah,
like that to me, like you're also making it less favorable for the teams that earned the right to be higher seeds. Like we all know, like just like we just talked about in the NBA, like you have a bad day, like shit happens, like a really good team, now you're giving them another opportunity to potentially stub their toe. Like that's just devaluing what they earned, I guess, to me, to play good teams.
And the way with the college game is you get hot from three, it's anybody's game. Like you know what I mean? Like, so it's not like, to me, like in theory, like over the long, big scheme from beginning of the season to the end, you are like what your record is. But in a one game scenario,
Mm-hmm.
the better team doesn't win all in college basketball more so than any sport. I'd kind of make that argument against anything out there.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. So yeah, it's interesting where this is going. And yeah, there's so many of the logistical parts of it that just like how the hell are we going to figure this out? But obviously that's the way it's going. Maybe that'll be the final
Straw, yeah.
to do for the NCAA. Maybe that'll be they won't even have the NCAA basketball tournament because that's pretty much what they're holding on to at this point. And maybe that's part of it.
If the Crown keeps throwing that money out there, they might take over.
Yeah.
If NCAA is going to keep messing around, you want to play for $1 million, or do you want to go play for a piece of a net? What would you rather have?
Yeah, and it's true. As long as everybody's involved, what's the difference? So, interesting. We'll see what happens. I mean, I guess I have my doubts that this is actually going to change before next season, but I don't doubt that they're going to have a plan after that for the following. So we'll see how it goes and what it changes down the line. Does not bode well, I think, for the sport in general or fans, but we'll see. We do have some other topics I think that we're going to touch on a little bit here down the road. There's been some rumblings on some other fronts as far as what some professional sports teams are deciding to do and stadiums and those types of things, and not any more of a hot topic anywhere than where SJ lives in Kansas City. But we're going to get to that, I think, on the next program. So look forward to that. We do have some other things going on. There's still obviously lots going on all year round in the fight game. SJ's been putting out some picks on that front. So if you want to hop on over to follow us on social media there on Twitter, at SGM Bets, at Cherokee CP. Those are the handles. He's got some picks already out there for you here for this current weekend as we're recording. And always, of course, as something comes up, it gives you a little bit of insight of what's going on and what he's thinking there. And then we've been putting out from time to time as well what we like on the professional front, whether it be NBA playoffs, NHL. We'll continue to put that stuff out there as well. So keep following along there, and we'll get you those picks. Also, we would love it if you would like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Available in all the major platforms, including our host at Spotify. And then if you would like, subscribe and get the notifications on the YouTube channel, we would appreciate that as well. You get all the updates there. And then, of course, we do some pick videos there for you when it comes major certain times. I think we do plan on putting something together here for you not too far down the road as well when it comes to the NBA NHL Finals. So we'll do that as well. So you look forward to that. All right, I think that's going to wind it down for us here this week. We appreciate you joining us. We hope you have a wonderful week and enjoy listening to us here at some point. Always, of course, we welcome your feedback as well. Feel free to hit us up. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for another week of Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.